morning, good day, good afternoon. Hey,
Hey,
hey, I'm Joel Lowe, and this is the Down Low. Always with me is Mike. Mike, say hello.
hey, Joel. Hey, everybody.
How are y'all? How are you doing, sir?
You know what? I'm doing pretty good for a morning. So this is good. This is good.
Yes, yes. Well,
Um,
all go ahead.
yeah. So I guess both of us saw the same Good Morning America thing this morning.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So this morning, I'm having my cup of Joe, and Good Morning America starts talking about iPhones and how somebody got the iPhone stolen, and we're gonna go through the whole scenario and whatnot. So I was like, hey, why not talk about that, right? So one of the things that we want to do in this channel is break down, hot topics and things that are going on that are talking about security, and break it down at a simple level. So take it from high speak to very, very, very elementary, where anybody can pick it up. So I thought this should be a great topic, or we both thought this would be a great topic. So we're going to kind of run from there. This is episode 44. Y'all, we are getting up
44.
there. 44, the big 4-4. So with that being said, Mike, go over the scenario that you heard this morning, and then we will break it apart from there.
Yeah. So it starts off with them explaining how the theft of a smartphone can, in this particular case, was iPhone. The theft of a smartphone led to identity theft. Right now, usually when somebody steals an Apple device that you've registered to your account, you usually can find it with the Find My. It's
Hmm.
very helpful if you leave your phone somewhere, or your MacBook or your iPad or even your headphones. Um, you can go online or go on the app and say, "Hey, where did I leave this?" And it will broadcast where the last known location of the device was. Right. So
You also cannot delete your iPhone or restore it without turning that off as well. So
correct. Yeah. So if somebody were to steal your iPhone, theoretically you can go, "Well, let me just find out where that is, and
mhm,
we'll go from there."
right.
Um, but what the story entails was a woman was at a bar, some guy she just met, hung out with for a few minutes, went and stole her iPhone. Like as
Hmm.
they were leaving, he stole her iPhone, and within 5 minutes had turned off Find My Phone, changed the password for her Apple account so she couldn't get in and turn her Find My Phone on again. And within the next day or so, was out thousands of dollars
Hmm.
because he had gotten into her bank accounts and things like that. What that didn't tell you was how.
Right.
Right. So very terrifying, I'm sure, to anybody who owns an iPhone who's like, whoa, like I didn't know I could lose everything. You're
Right.
like, let's let's break that down a little bit, because
Yeah.
Joel and I were talking about, like, I don't understand how they got from here to now I own you, and you're like,
Right.
you're I've turned you into a scroll, and now I'm taking over your identity and so on and so
Right.
forth. Like it didn't make
Right.
sense how they jumped from point A to point B.
Correct.
But essentially what I think we figured out was this. So Joel and I have an experiment that we're going to try. How many times you pick up your smartphone every day? We were just chit chatting, like, it's almost like if you see somebody pick up their phone, you're like, it's been a while since I've picked up my phone. Let me go ahead and
Right.
look it. And the first thing you do is unlock it. Well, if you haven't unlocked it with biometrics in a while, or with a passcode in a while, it'll prompt you for a passcode. And you're like, yep, all
Hmm.
right, it's probably been a while. Let me go ahead. Or it restarts or reboots. It
Hmm.
prompts for a passcode.
Yep.
Um, Now, and this is another experiment. If somebody says, hey, I think I lost my wallet, most men will slowly go and reach to see if their wallet is still in their back pocket.
Right.
Um, it's
Right.
just it's a social programming.
It is.
Um, so
I, I
that's what we
call
think
this
is going.
the FOMO experiment, right? It's
FOMO,
the
right,
fear of missing out is why you grab your phone, right?
right,
You have no idea that you're doing it, but you don't want to miss something, right?
right,
And then you rationalize it with, what if it was important, right?
right,
Or I could respond quicker, right?
right.
But no, we have notifications and things that you talk about, Mike, that in the green room that let us know when we get an email. My watch tells me, hey,
Yeah,
somebody has texted me or whatnot, but I still grab my
yeah.
phone, right? I
Yeah.
still touch it. So the whole premise of this experiment that we're going to do, the FOMO experiment, is that we're going to pick a date and we're going to just see how many times we grab our phone right
Right.
throughout the day, just unconsciously, right? And I
That'd be
think that
terrible.
the number is going to be shocking.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring it back to you next week to say, okay, here's the number, guys. This is what it
Yeah.
was. And I would encourage you, please do it yourself. I would love to hear, we would love to hear what that number is from you, right? Grab your
Right.
phone, see how many times you grab your phone,
Yeah.
and report back to us. I
Yeah.
will report it. We'll talk about it in episode 45 of all the people that we heard from or whatnot. I would even say, Mike, ask Joe to do it too, right? See what
Yeah.
see what he says,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Anybody in any leadership is just like, what's going on? What's
right,
going on? What's going on?
right.
Yeah. So
Right. But I still think
it's
just
going to
be
be,
interested to see, how many times, like
yeah.
132, right? You're like, what? What am I
Yeah.
doing? Right.
I'm afraid I'm going to lose count. I have a feeling. I'm
And,
going, oh,
and
wait, I
that,
didn't count that time. Yeah.
right, right. That'd be perfect.
So,
That'd be perfect. So go back to
so
the scenario. Yeah.
yeah, so let's set up the scenario. So this person was in a bar hanging out with
Hmm.
another person. They probably and Joel had a great thought where it's like, even if you have biometrics turned on with the face and everything else, um, face ID in a dark, crowded room or something like
Hmm.
that with lights and stuff like that. I know it picks you up on LiDAR, but it may have challenges with that.
Hmm.
If you don't have an Apple Watch and you have a mask on or so on and so forth, it also gets a little difficult. So
Hmm.
it'll prompt you like, hey, just go ahead and give me your passcode.
Hmm.
Now, I have an alphanumeric passcode. So I'm going to pull it in close, double thumb it, get it in there and unlock it. It
Right.
is a pain in the tail when you're driving and your phone reboots and you need to turn it back on again and you're
Yes.
using the GPS on your phone. It's
Yes.
happened to me 3 times. I've had to pull over
Hmm.
on the
Yes.
shoulder and unlock my phone to get back where I was. I mean, and I'm sure people in the car with me are like, why? Why is your passcode so
So
complex?
long. Right.
It's so long
Right.
because I have a healthy dose of paranoia as an infosec person. Um,
Yes.
so this person probably had a very simple 4-digit passcode, typed it in a few times. Maybe didn't trust Face ID or the thumbprint identification as
Hmm.
some other phones have. So they type in their passcode or their pattern for Android phones and things like that.
Hmm.
And this person waited until they knew that the other person, the thief, waited until they had a good idea of what that passcode was, and then stole the phone.
And
Um,
I'd even venture to say, I bet you when they thought they had it, they
yeah,
then prompted them to put it in again, right? Just to
yeah,
verify, right?
yeah,
So I think I got it. I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, right? But let
yeah,
me double check, right? And then they then say something like, "Oh man, did you see that new feed that came out? Check and see
yeah,
if you got it, right? Quick." They
yeah,
say something to make them pick their phone up and check it, and then they're paying attention, focusing on that. And okay,
right.
yeah, it is 1, 2, 3, 4. I got it. Okay, let's
Right.
go.
It's one, two. Oh, it's
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5. That's sneaky.
Right.
That's sneaky.
So
There we go.
so I have the passcode now, or the recording. They're looking at their phone, asking you a question. They're recording you putting your passcode, and then they're gonna
Right.
just relook at it later.
Yeah.
All of those happen. I bet you one of those was the case. I would
Yeah.
venture to say.
Yeah. And if you're on public transit or you're in the plane or something like that, you're surrounded by a large crowd of people. You
Hmm.
don't know who's watching you, right?
Hmm.
That's why they sell these privacy films for a reason. But even with the privacy film, you might have smears on the fingerprints where the code goes. I don't want to get too secret squirrel deep into paranoia, but
Right.
at the end of the day, you don't know who's watching you.
Correct.
Um, and so, I always tell people like, especially when you're traveling, have your head on a swivel, right?
Hmm.
Don't bumble through life like a tourist,
Yeah. You know what?
because
You know what's so crazy is I never think about this. I have a privacy screen pretty
Mhm.
much everything, right?
Yeah,
But with you sitting behind me on a plane, and if you lean over, you
yeah,
have a line of sight, right? Because it's for
yeah,
people to be beside you, right?
yeah,
But if you're directly behind me and you lean over, and depending on how
yeah,
I'm sitting, you might be able to see my phone. I know that
right,
on the plane, I've looked at people have literally been scrolling on their phone in front of me, and not on purpose am I looking like to be nosy, but it's right there. You're like, what in the, like, I got free access. Like, I can literally see everything you're looking at, right? You see that even when people are on the plane or train or whatnot, and they're looking at videos or they're reading something. You look over and you're like, oh, I know that movie, or oh, that's a good scene or whatnot. So
Yeah.
please be
Yeah.
mindful, right, of what's going on around your surroundings.
Yeah.
Keep your head on a swivel.
So yeah. So once this person had their passcode, stole their
Mhm.
phone, physical phone, within minutes, the story goes, they had opened up their phone, turned off the Find My Device
Mhm.
functionality, and reset their Apple password. Right. So now the person who had their phone stolen has no recourse to contact Apple and go, my phone was stolen,
Mhm.
or I can't find my device, or so on and so forth, and they're done.
Yep.
And so it prompted Joel and I to take a look and come up with some things that we talked about. Um, Also inside of that is a password vault. So most smartphones have, hey, you use this username password. Do you want me to save it? And you're like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yep.
It's locked, right? Your phone is locked. You're like, it's not really that well locked, but it's locked. And
Right.
so you put a little faith and trust in it. And you say, sure, save it. Bank account information, credit card information, financial account information, all this stuff that's linked together is now saved on your phone. And even
Mhm.
if you're like, I don't save it on my phone, I save it on my Mac or my iPad or my other device, and they're
There's two.
linked to this
Mhm.
phone, they're
Yep.
saved. Now, this is different than a password vault, right? Like a one password or LastPass. I know LastPass got hacked, KeyPass and things like that.
Yeah.
They're separate. They're usually separate, and they usually enforce, like, one password forces you to put in a significant password.
Correct.
So usually it's probably going to be different than your 4-digit pin to get in your phone. So not the password manager, but the password vault inside the native phone. And
Mhm.
that's where all that stuff was. So that's what Joel and I were thinking. That's where things went. That's where things took a turn for the worse.
Right. Right.
So we talked about some defenses. Joel, did you want to kick us off?
Sure. So have a complex password. I would also say have different passwords for different sets of accounts, right? So we talk
Yeah.
about not using the same password over and over, and I'm guilty of doing that for certain accounts. I use the same one. I may augment it a little bit different. But yeah, for best practices, we would say use different passwords. So for your bank accounts, have something different. For your credit card, have something different. So it makes it harder for them to, because usually what they do is I go into your password vault or your password manager that you have on your phone, and I look at the passwords you have there. There's a pattern, right?
Yeah.
I look at all of them and see, okay, here's the pattern that they're going with, and then I try it. I go to your bank account, I put in the information, I try the different passwords. One of them's going to let me in, right?
Yeah.
And now I have that. And it just
Right.
keeps going, right? So if you change up your passwords, make it harder for them, right?
Yeah.
Um, we were talking about too, convenience doesn't equal security, right? So
Yeah. Security is not meant to be convenient, is what we used to say 20 years ago.
right,
And
it's still true,
yeah, it's still kind of true. Like
right?
it should be somewhat convenient. It should be transparent.
Right,
But yeah, you're right. If something is to the reverse of that, is definitely not true. Convenience is usually not often equal security.
right.
Um,
Right. So my thing is change up your passwords. Make sure you understand that. Get a LastPass or a password vault that really encrypts
yeah.
stuff. And then please go through and look at your password manager that you have on your phone, on iPhones. I'm not sure what they
Yeah.
have on the Google and the Samsungs, but they probably do have something similar.
Yeah.
Look through and see what you have in there. You'll be shocked. We both looked at
Yeah.
ours today. Kind of like, oh, okay, interesting. Hey, I
Yeah.
want to get rid of that. I'll add that. I'll keep that. Or hey, I just didn't know. Knowing
Yeah.
is half the battle. I always say that. I mean that. Now that you know, you can
Still
do
gonna get
something with it,
sued.
of course. Right. That is the goal. But now that you know,
That's
you can do something, right? But if you don't know, how can you change something? And I think for
right.
security, that's our number one thing, right?
Yeah.
Not knowing about a vulnerability is your biggest risk, right? Because
Yeah.
how can I adjust for it or do something with that risk if I don't know where it belongs, right?
Yeah. And as a security person, we're always called the no police.
Mhm.
I always tell people I don't want to be the NO police. I want to be the KNOW police.
Right,
I need to know about it. I
Gotta
want to
know.
know about it. If I don't know about it, I can't do anything about it, right?
I gotta
For
know.
those of us in security, the first two tenets are, asset management, of physical asset management and software asset management.
Yep.
And if you don't know about it, it doesn't exist to you. So you don't know it's a problem until it bites you.
And then once it bites you, it hurts, right?
It's usually pretty hurt,
Yeah,
pretty painful.
pretty painful. So what do we have number 2, right?
So, I always say, be aware of your surroundings. We talked about that a
Mhm.
little bit. I've certainly, as you watch people, and I'm a avid people watcher, not creepy, just standing there being
Yeah, creepy.
observant, and you kind of creepy.
Creepy.
But you watch people, and to your point, they pick up their phone every 5 minutes, and they type in their passcode, right? And usually it's a 4-digit passcode, and usually it's almost like a motion, right? So
Mhm.
you don't even need to see what the numbers are. You can just watch the motion.
Right. Right.
And it's kind of weird. You're like, I almost want to, if I almost want to be, one of these people in an airport with a microphone and be like, hi, my name is Mike DeRezzo. Just want to ask you a question. Is your passcode 4197?
Right.
And you're like, yeah. How did you know that? No, thanks
Oh,
for playing.
or this is
Here's
what it is.
$50.
No, it's 3261. How did
Right.
and you're like, okay,
Well,
thank you.
yeah, thanks.
Right.
Congratulations, you won.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like
So, but
the simplest technique to do from and of course you are a hacker, a social hacker and thing, is just to go with default, right? The default, right? Everything you should try first is the default password that comes
yeah.
on those. The
Yeah.
default, right?
Yeah.
So if it's 4 zeros, try that. You'd be
Yeah.
shocked and amazed how
Yeah.
lazy we are that we
1,
would
2, 3, 4.
right. We're
2, 2, 8, 4, 6.
yeah, default. Whatever the
For those
default
of us
is,
who are Christians.
try that first, and you'll be
Yeah.
shocked to be like, that worked.
Yeah.
Right? It's worked many times. It's worked more than it hasn't worked. I'll say
Because
that.
people couldn't be bothered, right? I can't be bothered with this. No one's going to steal my phone until it happens. And then you're boned.
Right.
So,
right. So we talked about that. We talked about your password vault. We talked about third passwords looking. We're talking about be aware of your surroundings. So now I think we're in the home stretch. I think we're in the takeaway, right? So
we are. Yeah.
So my thing is, go ahead.
No, please. Your thing is what?
Oh, know what's on your phone, right?
Yeah.
Know what's on your phone, and that's the reason why we say look at your passcode and whatnot. Keep up with your phone, right? Like, hey, know where your phone is at, right? And that's why this experiment is going to be interesting because you'll see how many times you touch your phone, right?
Yeah.
Without even knowing. Try to fix that. Try to be intentional about what you're doing, right? So I like to break bad habits. That is a big thing for me. So to me, I think this is probably a bad habit that I'm going to now intentionally try to not pick up my phone, right? It's almost like how when you're working, you need to take a break from, the screen, right? So I intentionally take breaks throughout the day. I'm going to now intentionally make sure that I'm not touching my phone, right? So that's one. What would be another good takeaway?
You had a good one. Clean your phone digitally and physically. Which you're right. Like go through your phone and I don't need this app. I don't know why I downloaded that app. Let me get rid of it. Because unless you're updating your apps constantly or having your apps auto updated, you don't know how dangerous they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, manufacturers, developers, they just stop developing for an app. Well, there's a new version that you can download. This one's old. This is version 1. We version 3. And they stop developing, patches and security patches for it. So just get that stuff off. The password thing was eye-opening. What's saved in your password vault? Like, whoa, let's get rid of that. We don't need that in here.
Yeah.
And just those native functionality features. Get rid of Bluetooth devices you don't have anymore. Make sure your phone is protected, and you're not broadcasting your phone's Bluetooth discovery wherever you go. You know what, that word that you mentioned, intentional, right? Use the phone for what it is, right? Don't just leave it be and let it fester and everything else. What's one that you have?
Monitor your credit, right?
Yeah, that's a huge one. Like this is the people that they talked about in the story were people that had bad things happen to
Mhm.
within hours.
Right.
Bad things don't have to happen within hours, right? Bad things can happen slowly too.
Hmm.
So if you keep an eye on your credit history and your transactions, you'll know a lot sooner than Hey, I don't remember making a $2
Yeah.
purchase there. Yeah, that's because somebody's trying your credit card to see if it's
Right.
still active.
Right.
Go ahead and call the bank, call the credit card processor, and have that canceled.
Right.
Um,
Also, to understand what's tied to your phone, right? So if I
yeah,
lost my phone, I know what credit cards are tied to, my Apple Pay, right? So
yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
freeze that credit card. I'm gonna,
yeah,
make sure from a bank standpoint that I go online and change those passwords or do something different. Like if I can stop them from getting access to my money, then I'd like to, because it's not that you won't get your money back, it's just the time and effort, right?
right, right,
If they change your password for your iTunes account, it is an act of Congress to
yeah,
get that reset or whatnot, because
yeah,
it is the heart of everything, right?
yeah,
And now you got to go through and they got to figure out, well, how do we know it's you? Uh, and then let's say they change the email address, right? So now you give them
right,
an email address and they're like, nope, that's not what we have on file. And you're like, no, no, but
right.
I'm telling you that's me. And they're like, no, no, like it is a
Yeah.
lot.
Well,
It
that's
is
my
a lot.
Apple. It's different than my Apple ID, and you're like,
Yeah.
yeah, but the email you have on file is guy who stole your phone last night at
Right.
hotmail.com. And you're like, that's the guy who stole my phone.
Right. And you're like, hey, that's not my phone number is. And they're like, no, that's not the phone number. Give me
Yeah.
your address. That's not the address we got. Like you have
Right.
nothing to identify you other
Yeah.
than like your word over the phone. And they're just gonna be like,
Right.
no, right. We just
Yeah.
sent you a challenge. What was the challenge we sent you? And they sent it to another phone. You're like,
Right.
that's
Like,
I
dude,
don't
I
know.
don't have my
I don't
phone. They
have my
stole my
stuff.
phone.
What are we doing? Like almost like the whole dudes where my car, right? Like
Right.
just dude, what's under your bag? Dude, like it's just you're
Yeah.
gonna be it's gonna frustrate you and eventually you're gonna either give up or pull your hair out, right? And you can
Right.
see what I did. I pulled my hair out. So
Yeah. Joel's been in security for a while.
yes,
I'm
yes, it's
getting there.
coming. I'm getting it. We're working on it, people.
We're working
So
on it.
so that's our takeaways. We hope that this was helpful. I think we're going to go ahead and land this plane. Mike, what is the final thoughts that you have about this topic or any
No,
topic?
I think it was eye opening. I think they
Hmm.
could have explained it a little bit more. I think there's
Hmm.
some things in there that they left out. Hopefully we answered some questions, and we'll just be safe and know what's on your phone, right?
Right,
If your phone got stolen, what's the first thing you would do,
right.
right?
Oh,
You
that's
know,
that's a good question. Hey,
yeah,
takeaway. What would you do if you didn't have your phone? That do you know what
right,
steps you would go to? Like that. That's a
yeah.
good. Hey, that's not bad.
Call some.
Don't have my phone. So, hey, how am I going to do this? Right? We're
Yeah.
so used to doing everything in your phone. So that's a good question. Y'all
I,
should run
I
that through
know
your head.
people that I know people that leave the house without their wallet because they're not driving, and they pay for things using their phone,
Hmm.
right? So Apple Pay and everything else is on their phone. They're like,
Yeah.
so if your phone got stolen, what's the number on the back of your debit card you would call?
Right.
uh,
I'm not
I don't have
sure.
my debit card.
Right.
I got to go
Uh,
home to get it. You're like, okay, in the 15 minutes it takes you to go home,
what
I've
could happen?
wiped you out. Yeah,
Yes. That is that. Wow. That's a good one. I like that one.
yeah,
I
yeah.
wish I would have came up with that. Damn. Darn it. That's a
Darn
good
it.
one. That's that's a good one. But I just went ahead and put that out there. Good morning, America. If you would like us to like come on and explain these certain things better, we're open to it,
We're,
right?
we're
You don't
open to
have to twist our
mansplaining.
arm. We will
Right,
we'll figure it out. We'll work around our schedule. We'll figure it out. It's okay. Right.
right,
Just give
right.
us a call.
Yeah.
Hey,
All
with
right.
that being said, as I stated in the middle of this, knowing is half the battle. That is literally what we want you to do is know. And once you know, you can do just a little bit better, figure some things out. And yeah, G.I. Joe,
Yeah.
always giving love to them.
Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
And with that being said, guys, please have a great, great rest of your day. Make it great because only you can, right? With that, take care.
Hit the like and hit the subscribe button.
Oh yeah,
Thanks,
hit
everyone.
the
So please whatever. Please I want to reach 1 million likes. So please
yeah,
Thanks,
hit the stuff, yeah, and don't
The
forget
bell.
to tell us how your experiment goes, and we'll tell you too.
Absolutely.
Right.